Okay, this is a quick little lecture about doing effective read alouds with your students. So here we go. You should be reading to your children every day. You should be reading with expression at a moderate rate. Vary your voice, use accents. Make it exciting, make it interesting, make it engaging, make them want to listen. If they have favorite books, you're going to read them over and over again, and that is okay. That's how they learn to read. They see what you're doing, they hear what you're saying, and they connect it together when they do it over and over again. When you're reading a book, you want to point out things, you want to explain things, you want to talk about the concept of books, how books work. So hold on, let me get a book here. So we're going to look at Go Dog Go. All right. So this is a book called Go Dog Go. Has anybody ever seen this book before? Okay. So this is by P.D. Eastman. That means he made up the story, he wrote it down, and he drew the pictures. This is the cover, and these are the pages, right? Okay. Then as we read, this book is falling apart. This is the first page. It says dog. So what am I doing? I'm showing them this is the word that I'm saying, dog. And then I'm showing them that we turn the pages this way. And this says big dog. I'm showing them that print goes this way. We read this way, right? We read from this way to that way. Now, in this book, we're not going to, oh, yeah, we are. Okay. On this page, it says one dog up on a house. So we see how it sweeps back, right? These are things that you want to point out as you're reading so kids understand that stuff. When you're done, talk about what the book was about. Talk about what you learned, what you saw, new words that you learned as you were reading. This is one concept of how to read to young children. It's called the crowd concept, and it's using it to make a conversation. So what they're using brown bear here as an example. So the C in crowd stands for completion. When we read brown bear, we know that we say over and over again, brown bear, what do you see? I see a looking at me, right? So the kids get to complete it. So they're reading, right? They can say brown bear, what do you, right? And then they can say what the thing is. That's completion. You're letting them fill in the blanks. Recall, asking about what happened when, what do you remember? What's their understanding of the story? Who was looking at the goldfish? Who was looking at the teacher? At the end, asking these questions. Open-ended questions. What do you think about this book? Have you ever seen a purple cat? Do you think that purple is a color for cats? Let's see, how would we make that an open-ended question? How many different colors do you think cats come in? What are some colors that you've seen of cats? Like, those aren't really open-ended though. An open-ended question. What's your favorite animal? What's the best animal in the book? Okay, those are open-ended questions because there's no right answer. An open-ended question is one where there's no right answer. The W questions. Who, what, where, why? Who's in this book? Where do you think they are? Why are the children looking at the teacher? And then distancing. Have you ever seen a purple cat? Have you ever been to school? Were you ever at a school where there were animals? Putting yourself in the story, but making it about you, not just the story. So that's one way. That's the crowd way. Now we're going to talk about how you incorporate a book into your classroom in a really intentional way to help children learn to read in an interactive read aloud. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a book of the week, essentially. One book that you're going to read at least 3 times each week. So you're going to have to pick this knowing that you're going to read it 3 times each week. And you're going to read it in large groups and small groups. You are going to pick the book and then you're going to pre-read it and make notes for discussion, for vocabulary words, etc. Put a Post-it note on it, right? Take a Post-it note, write down things that you want to remember to say, and put it on the front of your book. Like, remember, ask about dogs. Oh, when I was reading this the first time, before I brought it to class, I thought, oh, I should ask the kids about whether they have dogs. Because in the moment when you're reading to a group of 10 or more, speaking of dogs, here comes my dog. Little kids who are all over the place, you're not going to remember all the things that you thought of when you read it through to yourself the first time. This is your reminder, okay? Read in large and small groups, Post-it note. That's also a good place to, as you're reading through and you see new words that kids might not know, you can write those on your Post-it notes to highlight later. And once you've done your reading for the day, I don't know where my dog went. You put it in the library or in some place where children can hold the book, turn the pages, and read it themselves. Okay? Take your notes off though, because you might want them the next time. So, the first time you read it, give a brief introduction and talk a little bit about it. One thing that we used to do is a picture walk. That is not recommended anymore. Once you have kids' attention, go ahead and start reading. You can say, this is a book called Go Dog Go. The title is Go Dog Go, and it's by P.D. Eastman. That means he wrote the words and the story and drew the pictures. That's all you really need to do, okay? You don't need to talk about when it was written or any of that stuff. And what you don't want to do is say, does anybody know what this book is about? Because what's going to happen then is there's going to be a conversation, or there isn't, because they don't know what the book is about because you haven't read it to them yet. Just go ahead and read the book. The first read aloud, just read it. You can point out things as you go through, but really your goal with your first read aloud is to get through the book. And then you can go back and answer questions or use follow-up questions to prompt things. Where did those dogs go? What did you think was going to happen with those dogs? Have you ever seen a dog driving a car? All of those things. All right. But your first goal for the first time you read the book during the week is get through it. The second time you read it, you're going to remind them a little bit about what the book was. You're going to ask them some questions. Who remembers what the name of this book is? Does anybody remember what this book is called? Anybody remember who wrote it? Okay. And then this time you're going to point out some things and you're going to spend a little bit more time focusing on things that are happening in the book. What's this called? Do you know what that is? That's a helicopter, right? Do you know what this is? You can't see it. This is called a hammock. What do helicopter and hammock, what do they have the same? They both start with H, right? So, okay, you're going to talk about different things that you see. Look at these dogs are on scooters. Who has a scooter, right? They're skiing, whatever. You're going to point out and talk about things more in your second reading. And you're going to ask more about why. Why do you think this happened? You're going to ask more. You're going to talk about characters' feelings and thoughts this time a little bit. And you're going to think about what would have happened if, extend their thinking a little bit. Think about other things, alternative endings or alternative choices that characters might have made. In the third one, who remembers what the name of this book is? Who remembers who wrote it? Can anybody tell me what happens in this book? Where do the dogs end up? Why? And then you read it again. And then you're gonna have a bigger conversation this time, right? You're going to point out things again that you pointed out before. This is why it's important to have your Post-it note, because you may have things that happened the second time you read that you want to recall the third time you read. And then again at the end, what would have happened, those extending questions. What do you think about? Why did they do this? Whatever. What often happens is that the first time you read it, a lot of kids listen, and then you have some conversation with some kids. The second time you read it, a lot of kids listen again, and there might be more children who are part of the conversation. And by the third time you read it, anybody who has listened 3 times has a pretty good grasp of it and feels comfortable talking about it. The first time, there may be children that aren't comfortable talking about it and they don't really have anything to add to the discussion. But by the third time, for the most part, everybody's going to be pretty comfortable with it and will know, okay, this is when we talk about the dogs at the party or whatever. Um, Additional things that you can do to help children in a read aloud are act it out, right? Puppets and flannel boards, we've talked about that. The children can act it out as you read it. Art projects and writing and drawing based on the book, all kinds of things to help you help children engage in a read aloud in a way that is beyond just sitting and listening while you read a book. We'll see if we can get this video to work.
Bippity boppity bumblebee, can you say your name for me? Guy look. Let's clap it. Guy look. Let's snap it. Guy look. Let's dump it. Guy look. I teach at First Place to Start Child Care Center, and we have ages 4 and 5-year-olds. And our read aloud today, we read the story Joseph Had a Little Overcoat. We chose that book because it added to our clothing theme, but it also expanded their vocabulary on different kinds of clothing. Who is this? Remember, who is that? Remember his name? Starts with the J. Joe.
Joseph.
All right. And he has a bunch of friends on there. Who are his friends?
All the animals.
All the animals are on there.
That's a chicken.
A chicken. What's that one?
A
A cow. And look, all of his friends here. What are they doing?
He's singing.
Singing, exactly. He's singing. So Joseph had a little overcoat. It was old and worn. And what was worn? What did we say? Talk about worn. Worn is
It's getting old.
It's getting old. So we chose that book because they were able to repeat parts of the story over and over again, and they were able to use that repetition to expand their vocabulary. Joseph had a little necktie. It got old and worn. And then Joseph had a little button. One day, he lost it. Yes, hello.
And then he made a story of it.
You remember so well. And what is he doing? He's looking for it. And, wow, is he looking very, very hard for that? Because he's done what?
And he's moving the stuff away. And there's a hole on his wall.
A hole?
It's right there on this wall.
Come show me. When we're reading stories to them, they're able to be a bit more creative. So it's something that comes from reading aloud because he comprehended, he understood the story, but he was able to take it a step further. Okay, I like that story too. And you know what? I brought some coats, and so we can see what the vest looked like and what the overcoat looks like. Who wants to try on the overcoat that Joseph had?
Me.
Okay, how about Grecia? We gave them a chance to act out the story. So each child was able to put on one of those types of clothing. So they were able to gain a lot more comprehension. I need, Jaden, you come and hold the book and we'll go back to the pages and see. Thank you, Jaden. We did have one little boy that we had to sit and turn the pages, which is also very important to children in reading aloud. You can hold it better. After you had the jacket, then it became a what? A vest. So after it was a jacket, it became a vest. What's missing off of the vest that was on the jacket? What are these things here? Sleeves. So who knows what it's going to become next? What? What is it going to be? A scarf. Let's turn the page and let's see. There it is. What is it? A scarf. Allowing the children to become a part of the story helps them to understand, and that's what reading aloud is all about. Jacket, and then it becomes a vest, and then a scarf, and then a tie, and then a handkerchief, and then a button. Yay!
So this keys into what we were talking about with reading aloud, right? So she pointed out different words and meanings. She talked about it was a little worn or something. She had them do completion, like we talked about back in the crowd concept of reading aloud. She had them say what the next words were going to be. They were anticipating and remembering because they had obviously read the book before, right? I love at the end when she's acting it out, they're acting it out so that they experience it, which is another way to make that connection from words on the page to communicating in real life. And then she talks about how one boy was holding the book and turning the pages, which is, you wouldn't think of just the concept of turning pages, but that's part of the reading process. And then she enforces the new vocabulary. What's a vest? And she actually allows them to try on a vest. What are these? Sleeves. So that's a really great example of an interactive read aloud. And so what you should be doing is having a book of the week that you're reading 3 times during the week or more, letting kids play with it, read it themselves, whatever. But at the same time, you should be reading other books too. So it's not just one book all week long. You should read that book at least 3 times, but also have supplemental books as well. So